Huh?
No, it isn't. I
I
went to
haven't shopped
Marshall's
for so
today.
long. Oh, I wanted to go yesterday.
I went to Marshall. Then I
Good
went to
afternoon, Wine Wednesday people.
Hi, everybody. Let's
So
get
we've
over-
had the talk in the office a lot lately.
We're right in it.
Yeah, I mean we gotta
Not
get going.
mentally prepared
get
yet.
going.
Gotta get going.
Get yourself on
3:02.
board.
Oh boy.
Hop on board. Um,
Clink clink.
so
Oh,
what
wait, cheers.
Oh, cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome.
It's a truly kind of day.
Truly is. Truly is.
It's hard water Wednesday.
Have you seen the Michael Bublé
Hard
commercials with
Wednesday.
the bubbly things? And he's sitting in the aisle with the marker, like writing his little accent over it. Okay. Evidently, they haven't
I
seen it.
can't say that I have.
Anyways, so people are having a hard time making a decision to sell now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they're finding nothing on the market to sell, so there's
To buy.
to buy. So it turns to, where am I gonna go? What am
Where
I
am I
gonna
gonna
do?
What am I gonna do?
And we have answers for you today, folks. We
Maybe.
really got some answers.
Maybe we do.
Maybe we don't. Let's
We
see-
gotta
let's
get
see
you off
what-
the fence. We've got to
what
change
happens.
this market, right? So
Yeah, well, because I think it's so much, and these two have heard me say it 1,000 times. You probably have too, but there's nothing to buy because no one's selling,
right,
Right.
but no one's selling because there's nothing to buy.
Mm-hmm.
we're
right?
caught in the typical chicken
It is-
and egg.
Yeah,
It's been like this for what? How many years?
as long as I've been in real
4,
estate.
5.
Yeah,
It
and
wasn't
every
bad
year it's
when I
gotten
first started.
worse.
Like it wasn't this bad. when
No,
I
it was
first
not
started.
this bad.
Got my
It has gotten
license,
progressively
Yeah,
worse.
in
every year.
2013.
Yeah.
So what? 6 years later, and I would say the last like 3 to 4 have been about like this.
It's been tough. Yeah, there's just not a lot of listings out there. So the listings that do sell, you would think people would be motivated to sell, right?
Because top dollar.
Yeah, top dollar, you're not having to pay for anything for the buyer.
Mhm.
Oftentimes people are not asking even for repairs.
Mhm.
They're offering money above and beyond list price, and that if it doesn't appraise, they're still gonna contribute toward
Right.
the net. So, you know,
But I think the problem is then they're like, okay, well I'm gonna get top dollar for my house, but then I'm gonna pay top dollar for another house.
well, yeah, you are. So that's the rub.
Yeah.
And so let's talk first about, I think people want to know, where am I going to go? Okay, because nothing's for sale. You look in that Realtor.com.
Yeah.
And you see, what am I going to buy? If I sell my house, where am I going to go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had that conversation in my house multiple times.
Yeah. And so people are afraid to list for that fear. So we have some potential solutions to help with that. First, what about a suitable housing contingency?
Oh yeah, that's always a good one. Yeah. So when you're the seller, you would tell the buyer, this contract's contingent upon me finding somewhere to live, and you would put a time limit on it.
Yeah.
So that's always a good idea.
So, okay, so we've got a contingency, home sale or purchase, finding acceptable housing. So, what about buying something before you sell? And I know people gasp just to hearing those words. And the first thought I think everybody hears is 2 mortgage payments, 2 mortgage payments.
Well, and usually people need the money from that home sale for the down payment for the
Yes.
next one, especially if it's going to be a step up.
And a lot of people don't make enough money to be approved for 2 houses.
Yes.
Right.
So I think that's common.
Debt to income
Yeah.
is a big part of what they look at when they're approving you. Absolutely.
Yes.
So-
And so there are some solutions to that. If you've been living in your home for a while and you've got a lot of equity buildup in the home, there are programs where you can use that equity to jump to the next house and not have a huge addition in your payment. And then for the short period that this happens, and with the way the market is going, I mean, typically your first payment's not going to be due for, 6 weeks or so. You close on a house today, June 12th, then your first payment is probably not going to be due till August. You won't have a July payment. And in this market, I think it's very possible that if you list it and you do everything that we tell you should, that you could be sold
In 30 days.
and never have to make that extra little bit of
Oh,
payment.
right, yeah.
So I think that is, and we've got some lenders with a bridge loan and this home equity option, And a lot of what they'll do with the equity option, from what I understand it, and Ryan Sibley, if you're watching, please help correct me. But they will use that equity towards your home to help finance it. Then when you close, then they can also do what's called a recast on your loan.
Mm-hmm.
So you take the rest, or whatever, maybe, you have more money to put down. You put that down, they recast the loan, you get a new payment as if you put all that money down
Right.
in the first place.
Yeah.
So
So there are options for that.
lots of loan
Yeah.
Mhm.
options.
Yes.
And we've got some other solutions too, right? I mean, home sale contingency. What about that? I mean, Amanda, you just
Yeah,
got
you
that
can always
word.
write a contract that is contingent upon your home sale. It is tough in this market, but I just got my clients in contract with a home sale contingency, so it is possible. I think if you write the right contract and the right terms in it, then you can absolutely have a chance to do that. And so that means that you have time to sell your house as well, and then if it falls through, then you're not financially obligated to buy the new house.
Right.
I always find it funny that sellers are absolutely like, well, I don't want to take someone that has to sell a home too, but oftentimes they have to sell their
Yeah.
home in order to buy the next one.
Yeah, well then
People,
that's
wait a minute.
that's like
Hey.
but then it's like a whole domino effect.
It can be, yeah,
the
it can
house
get a little
that-
tricky.
The house that my clients are buying, they actually did a bridge loan to
Oh.
buy their new house.
Oh. Well, how did that go? I mean, did it work out pretty well?
So they were already in contract. So the house that my clients are buying, they were already in, like the sellers of that house were already in contract on their new house with a bridge loan, and so then they were a little bit scared taking a home sale contingency offer, but we wrote really good terms, and we were already in contract. So
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. If you are going to have to write something with a home sale contingency, then know that at least be on the market. At the
Yeah.
very least, be on the market.
And my clients had a really hard time with this. Like they were scared to list their house because they're like, well, where do we go? And I'm like, do you have a backup plan? Because you somewhat do need to have a backup plan. If we can't find you the right house while your house is on the market, then maybe you might have to do a short-term rental or stay with family. But ideally, if you have a home sale contingency to have that backup plan, if you can't get into contract, then that's obviously always ideal to do.
Mhm.
And last year, that's what my clients were going to do. They were going to stay with family if something. were to
Were you the
happen.
one that brought up people Airbnb? Like people, I think that's a great option.
Yeah.
Or one of those.
A longer term,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if you can
Mhm.
stay a couple weeks if you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Pods.
Put it in pods.
Yeah, put it in pod and then.
Put your stuff in,
Because if you
Portable
don't have a
storage.
home sale contingency and your house is already sold, then obviously it's going to be easier for you to get into contract. And especially like if you're through inspection and appraisals and you have like 15 days to close, then you would only have to stay there for a couple weeks. Or another option is to always ask your buyers, can we extend the closing date?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's kind of what we did too. Like I was like, hey, just so you know, like are your buyers flexible with closing?
I think most people, everyone in the market is in the market. Like we all know that there's some things you might have to give and take or work around. Lending is a little different this year for people that I've had anyway. It seems like it's a little bit longer than just the typical 30-day or less closing. So there's adjustments that have to be made, and I think buyers that want your house would understand. If you run into a little staying in your home.
Especially if they don't have home sale contingency and they're renting, then it's like, hey, talk to your apartment and can we get an extra month? And that may be something that the sellers would be willing to pay for, so they can stay in their house. They could pay for a month of your rent or something to that.
I've run into the last couple times where the sellers need a couple weeks for possession after, and as long as it's up front and you say what is needed or what is wanted, people are fine with it.
Yeah.
I
For the
think
most
people
part.
who walk by that door and see us think we're talking to the wall.
Who are we talking to?
yeah.
All in a row.
I just saw someone walk by outside our front door and look in, and I was like, we're all looking at you on our phones.
But there could be people there.
Yeah, we've got a
That's true.
store next door that
And I find in all of this that anxiety plays a major role.
Yeah.
And for that, I find medication helps. So, medicate
Self-medicate.
Yes. But in the end, the cheers.
The cheers!
The fear of the unknown has stopped me from a lot of things in my life that I really wanted to do. And
Yeah.
rarely have, when I done it, at the end of everything, did I regret what I did.
No, it's not.
You know,
that
And I think that's true with this. If you really want to sell and you really want to move, and you're letting that fear of all of these things that we're talking about take hold of you and prevent you from doing it, then okay.
Yeah.
This is Wayne 101 this week. I've learned slow down,
breathe.
deep breaths, and make your decision.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad.
Don't shut down from it.
Yeah.
Like me.
And I get
Thinking about
calls.
stuff, you get overwhelmed, and then it's like, whoa, I can't do that.
I get calls from people, they want to do it, right? And then the calls, then they kind of fall off the train for a while. And I think they let all of this consume them.
Well, I think, unfortunately, and I'm not the first one to say this, social media, all the posts and the Facebook groups, and, it just makes the whole process seem so much more stressful than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Or more overwhelming. But, ironically, that's funny too, because most people, the posts that I see in the groups that I'm in are like, who has a house? I need a house. Is anyone selling? You think that would motivate people to,
Yeah.
but it probably has the opposite effect, quite honestly, where they're like, oh, there's nothing for sale, so
Right.
we can't
Why
buy
would I-
anything. Why am
yeah.
I going to sell? I'm not.
Right.
buying
Where am I
it.
gonna go?
It's fine.
But
It's
like I
fine.
think
It's fine. It's fine.
I think if you really, what?
It's fine.
I'm fine.
Fine, we're fine.
I think that if you really want to, then you can make it happen.
I think
For
the
sure.
time
You just have to want it
is now.
bad enough.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if you're trying to sell and you're worried about, okay, houses cost more, interest rates are higher, which they're back down again.
They're down.
And you think in your mind, you're thinking, okay, if I just wait, this will all resolve itself.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I hear from people is, I'm just gonna wait a year
Mm-hmm.
because next year maybe it'll be better. Well, the last however many years,
Yeah.
I think
what we
we've all
talked
had
about,
that
yeah.
thought. But what has happened? Home prices went up, interest rates went up, and that house that you could have done this with a year ago would have been less, and your interest rates would have been better. So, and maybe you got more money on your home sale, but if you think about it as far as interest rates are concerned, and if you hold this house, I hear from a lot of people these days because I'm getting older. Not really. I'm still 39.
27.
Yeah. But I hear from people, this is going to be my forever home. This is the last time I'm ever doing this. Well, if that's truly the case, you take out a 15, 30-year mortgage, and your interest rates between now and next year goes up 1%. How many thousands of dollars are you throwing away by procrastinating this decision?
Yeah.
Not only will the house that you buy cost more physically,
Yeah. Prices
immediately.
aren't going down.
Right.
They won't go down.
They're
Not
never.
for a long time
no.
if
They're not. There's
in the
not. It's
foreseeable
not going to
future.
happen.
Yeah. I tell people all the
So
time.
there.
But I tell people all the
It's not.
time, if the world were to stop turning today, and all these buyers that have been trying to buy for years were still gonna do it, then it's gonna take a long time for that to even catch up with the people, the pent up demand. So people are like, oh, it's gonna crash because it's been going up so high, so fast, and
Mm-hmm.
no,
Yeah, it's not.
It's
Like,
not gonna.
It's
It's
because
not.
Columbus is growing rapidly, and we're still very affordable to live here, and there's jobs here, and people are moving here.
and land is becoming less and less available.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, each home that sits within a reasonable distance from Columbus is only going to continue to appreciate,
Yeah.
barring the unforeseen. But market conditions of why everything collapsed last time, it's not like
different.
that right
It's
now.
Right.
No, it isn't.
It's
It-
not faulty lending now.
Right.
Not now.
Yeah.
Not now. It's real hard to get a loan.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
please,
I
yeah.
wonder if that's part of it too. People, there's so much pressure on credit score, debt.
Mhm.
It's overwhelming to want to make that move and have that conversation to find out, am I lendable? Am I, because maybe a few years ago you weren't. But I think you'd be surprised that, you're probably better off than you were.
Right. Well, if you're paying off your debts.
Yeah.
Well,
Unless you keep racking them up.
and what I find is most
What's wrong with
people
that?
who are
That's fine.
You have to pay that?
the people who are truly afraid of this process are the ones that are probably most lendable.
Well, that's what I think, right? Because
Um.
they've been, for whatever reason, I mean, I think everybody back in the day probably was hit in some way or another. Maybe not. But
Or you just had something unexpected that happened. Okay?
Yeah, I mean,
so what? So
stuff
does
happens.
everybody else. So let's get past that, shall we?
let's sell.
Let's
Sell
do
your
it.
house. We'll make it easy
Sell
for
your
you.
house, buy
What's-
houses.
Subliminal messages. See? Or
Picking up
Or
what I'm
what's
putting
your-
down here.
what's your thing you watch on YouTube?
Oh, ASMR.
Oh my
Look
God,
it
so
up.
creepy.
ASMR. It's creepy.
Don't do it. Don't look it up.
So Jenny is obsessed with it. Oh, and that is so weird. yeah. Oh,
Do you like
is it working? Do you want to sell your house?
That's for relaxation,
Okay.
not for subliminal.
And knock about
Use me
that.
as your listing agent.
All right. Well, so I mean, at the end of the day, let's get it done. Let's sell it. Let's flip this market on its edge and.
Yeah, and let's get you
Let's
in
do
a
your
new
thing.
house.
Anyways, you know where to find us all, right? I mean, here.
Everywhere, all the social medias.
You probably have our phone number. If nothing else,
Text me.
ask Alexa, call Wayne. I don't know if it'll work or not, but try it. Let's see what happens.
Alexa, call Wayne.
Did you mean Wayne Henry?
I told you she'd know.
You're interrupting.
Well, I'll be here when you need me.
Hey Alexa, call
I'll be
Wayne.
here when you need me.
Oh, now he's gonna play this game again.
Anyways, Alexa knows me. Call me. All right. Until then, find us at our
Just your
normal
Alexa.
spots. You all know where that is.
You
Okay.
do know where that is.
And we'll see you next Wednesday, 3 o'clock, right here.
Yes.
Okay.
Adios.
Until then,
Okay.
adios amigos and amigas.
Clink, clink, clink.